I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. Ending a 7-year process of investigation and communication with its officers, the Vatican has approved new statutes and bylaws by the U.S. Leadership Conference of Women Religious, or the LCWR. 4 conference officers met for about 50 minutes with Pope Francis. They discussed his apostolic exhortation, the joy of the gospel, during the conversation. In a joint statement by the LCWR officers and the U.S. bishops appointed to oversee conference reform, the LCWR promised that materials it publishes first will be reviewed to ensure theological accuracy. In addition, the statement said programs sponsored by the conference and speakers chosen for its events will be expected to reflect church teaching. The statement said the extensive conversations were marked by a spirit of prayer, love for the church, mutual respect, and cooperation. In April of 2012, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith called for the revision of LCWR's statutes and bylaws. The Vatican said the reform was meant to ensure the conference's fidelity to church and Catholic teaching in areas including abortion, euthanasia, women's ordination, and homosexuality. LCWR has more than 1,500 members who represent more than 80% of the 57,000 women religious in the United States. In news from the Vatican, Pope Francis met with Kenyan bishops during their ad limina visit to the Vatican. The meeting comes just 2 weeks after an attack by the Somali-based Al-Shabaab militants on Garissa University College left nearly 150 people dead. Pope Francis mourned the deaths of all those killed and admonished the perpetrators to come to their senses and seek mercy. Catholic News Service spoke with the Archbishop of Mombasa, Kenya, about the meeting with the Pope and the possibility of peace.
Also understand that the Kenya Red Cross, as we speak, is undertaking a ground medical evacuation exercise being done, of course, in conjunction with security personnel who are already on the ground. These shots that you're seeing on the screen from earlier this morning,
we had a whole conference of bishops meeting the Holy Father, Pope Francis. As he began his talk, he condoled with us and said he's very, very touched, and he wants to say he's so sad, and at the same time prays for the conversion of this, may call them criminals and people who are bent to bringing about insecurity in the world. In particular, he did feel with us the way we also were feeling, that it is unimaginable, over 148 lives lost just without any particular purpose. It's not an accident, it's planned. So at that time we went ahead and discussed a few things about what can be done and what could be done. We, all of us, Kenyans, Ugandans, the world over, have to think about where we want the world to go. Do we want a peaceful world, or do we want just a world where everybody feels unsafe? Christ's message to us after resurrection, and that's why he said at the end when he's talking about mercy, we are calling ourselves to think of how we can reach out to those who suffer in different ways. And this is one of the ways to do so. To pray, of course. He at one moment said, the whole world looks like there's so much misery that it's very depressing. But we have to pick up the courage and take up hope and say we cannot just stop and watch and say we are losing hope. We have hope. We have to be forward-looking in terms of engaging people to condemn, and also engage people to look at each other positively.
More news now from the Vatican. The Pontifical Academy of Sciences is hosting a summit at the Vatican on April 28th entitled "Protect the Earth, Dignify Humanity." UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon will participate in the workshop that will focus on the moral dimensions of climate change and sustainable development. More than 60 environmental experts have been invited. Organizers of the event said that the desired outcome is a joint statement on the moral and religious imperative of sustainable development, highlighting the connection between respect for the environment and respect for people, especially the poor, the excluded, victims of human trafficking and modern slavery, children and future generations. The UN Secretary General and Cardinal Peter Turkson, President of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, will give opening addresses. Pope Francis has announced he is preparing an encyclical letter on the environment that is expected to be published this summer. And finally, in the news, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled this past week that prayer cannot take place during Canadian City Council meetings. The court said it goes against freedom of religion and conscience. In a unanimous decision, all 9 judges ruled against prayer at the meetings. The case pitted the mayor of Saguenay, a town north of Quebec City, against Alain Simoneau and the Quebec Lay movement. In 2006, Simoneau complained that praying at the beginning of council meetings violated his right to freedom of conscience and religion. A Quebec Human Rights Tribunal agreed with him and told Mayor Jean Tremblay and the city to drop the prayer and pay Simoneau 30,000 Canadian dollars. In 2013, the Quebec Court of Appeal ruled Saguenay could keep its prayer tradition, but the Supreme Court of Canada reversed that ruling. Now it applies to all cities and towns across Canada. Bishop Andre Rivest of Chicoutimi, Quebec, the diocese in which Saguenay is located, said he was disappointed but not surprised by the ruling. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.